Okay, that's great. Just please, if you don't mind, let me know if you can see and when you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, thanks, James.
It's coming now.
Oh, okay, super. Thank you. Let me just wait that it goes. You can see it, yeah, now?
Yes.
Super. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so good morning, everybody, and welcome to our second webinar series on the topic of women industrial leaders in agriculture, forest, marine beauty, and bio-based fashion textile. My name is Dragica Grozdanic, and I'm bioeconomy researcher within the Munster Technological University, and I'm going to be your today's moderator. As you can see on your right-hand side corner, there is a QR code, which is bringing you straight away to our official MainstreamBIO website page, where you can find more information about our webinars, upcoming events, but also you can find more information about MainstreamBIO itself and also what we gained so far. I would like to mention you all that today's webinar is going to be a recording webinar for the purposes, for the educational purposes. Now, something about today's agenda. So we will start with MainstreamBIO introduction to the webinar 2, which is going to be presented to you by myself. Then after that, we will hear more about the flavors in plant protein from Trine Dalsgaard. Then we will go a little bit to marine sector, and we will hear more about marine natural beauty products supporting sustainable future by Alexandra Augustignac. Then we will go a little bit into the fashion area, and we will hear more about the future of sustainable fashion, researching the bio-based textile and materials from Pavleen Harmsen. Then we will hear something from bioeconomy innovation from the forest industry, from Johan Borjesen. And then in the panel discussion, we will host for the first time another speaker. Her name is Mette Lubeck. After that, we will have interactive Q&A session, and then we are planning to close the webinar around 12:15. Already mentioned we are going to have interactive Q&A session around 12, but I would like to encouraging you all that you use this opportunity to ask the question even through the whole webinar today. How you can do it is basically putting your questions into the chat, which is the icon what you can find on your right-hand side, on your left-hand side toolbar. So feel free to put any of your question, and then during the interactive Q&A session, we will address your question to the relevant speaker. Now, something just about the webinar series schedule, where we are, and which is the next one webinar. So we started last week with our first webinar. Now we are on our second webinar, which is also the Golden Middle Now webinar. Then next week at the same time, we are going to have our third webinar on the topic of youth in the bioeconomy, which I think is very interesting webinar as well, because we are going to talk about the impact and importance of youth involvement in the bioeconomy sector. And then in 2 weeks' time, we will have our last webinar series on the topic of empowering consumers in the bioeconomy. What are some sustainable choices for health, wellness, and also future generations? All of these webinars you can find on our MainstreamBIO website, official website site, where you can find also the registration link for the future webinars. Here in your right-hand side corner, you can find the QR code, which is bringing you to our YouTube MainstreamBIO site, where you can rewatch these webinars and even the webinars from the first round at your most convenient time. Also, feel free to share this webinar with your colleagues or whoever finds it relevant, and if they find it, of course, helpful as well. Now, let me give you a brief introduction to today's webinar. So as I mentioned, today's topic is about women industrial leaders in agriculture, forest, marine beauty, and bio-based fashion textile. The objectives are highlighting women's contribution to the bioeconomy through showcasing women's leadership and innovation in agriculture, marine cosmetic, bio-based textile, but also in the forestry. Then we will exploring some sustainable innovations through presenting advancements in the protein food, marine beauty products, bio-based textile, and forestry, focusing on sustainability and environmental impact. And also what we are going to talk today about is addressing the challenges and solutions by providing strategies to overcome issues like off flavors in the plant proteins and scaling bio-based material for sustainable practices. Before I give the floor to our first speaker, I would like to ask you all to please scan this code and refill this questionnaire for us at the end of the webinar, because your feedback is very valuable to us, not only to us, it's going to also serve for the next and future projects in order to improve ourselves and improve the content what we are sharing with you. Thank you so much for that in advance. You can do it by, as I said, by scanning this code, and also I'm going to put the link into the chat now. And let's start with our first speaker. I will first give you some brief introduction to our Trine. So Trine is a professor, Trine Dalsgaard is a professor in the Department of the Food Science at Aarhus University, specializing in sustainable food systems and the food chemistry. She earned her master's degree in biotechnology from Aalborg University and completed her PhD focusing on the free radical chemistry in protein and lipid oxidation. Her research encompasses alternative proteins, food stability, and optimization of processing, with a significant emphasis on novel food sources and bioraffinery, including the extraction of the proteins from seaweed and legumes. Trine has considerable teaching experience, contributing to both bachelor's and master courses, and has supervised numerous PhD, master's, and bachelor students. She has also successfully leads consortium-based projects, demonstrating a strong collaboration with industrial partners nationally and internationally. So Trine, I hope I provide as much as possible short biography. I will stop sharing my screen.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction. You did very well. And now I will start sharing my screen.
Mm-hmm. Super. Thank you so much. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Yes, today I'm going to talk about off flavor in plant proteins, the region, and also fate in processing. But first, I would actually like you to see some things that we did a couple of years ago, where we were asked by the Danish Ministry of Agriculture and Food to make a ministry report on novel protein sources. We were supposed to actually estimate the full production potential of different biomasses, and also how long it would take for this biomass actually to come to the market when it comes to protein for human consumption. And you can see that there are some of the, just a moment, I would like to have a mark. You can see that there are some of these very nice protein sources like pulses, rapeseed, and potato that is already on the market, whereas we have the leafy legume and grasses, which I will go a little bit more into today. They are not on the market, but they still have quite a potential actually. And then there are others that has a way to go, for example, the cultivated meat and also the cellular milk. So if we look at these up here that is already on the market, then you can may think that yeah, that's really good, and it is. But unfortunately, there are issues with these because the taste is not as good as we as consumer actually would like it to be. And therefore, really to get this going on the market and for us to buy these protein ingredients, then we really need to improve. And today I will focus mostly on the leafy legume alfalfa, and that I will talk about next. So in the Center for Circular Bioeconomy and in my group, we are actually working on processing. In the Department of Food Science, we are focusing on the proof of concept. So it is from TRL level 1 to 3. Then we help our engineers upscaling for a pilot demo facility. And then the full processing is in collaboration with industries. We are expert in analyzing for anti-nutrients and nutrients, and also look into process-induced changes like cross-linkages of proteins. We look at the functionality, and it could be the solubility of the protein. We also have the facility to do in vitro digestibility and evaluate how the process is actually affecting the protein digestibility. Then we collaborate with animal science at Aarhus University on rat and pig studies, and with the clinical nutritionist also in humans. We are working on functional and sensory properties as well, and therefore we actually are collaborating across the full TRL range up to the market. So we also like to look into real food applications, and it can be, for example, alternatives to meat, but it can also be alternatives just in general. But when it comes to all flavor, there are quite some different things going on in the plants for them to grow, and there are, for example, secondary plant metabolites, and there are also indigenous enzyme like the LOX, the lipooxygenase, which is actually facilitating the oxidation of lipids. And we also have quite some proteolytic enzymes which can also be troublesome when we are doing the processing of plant material. But today I will only show you some results on the saponins, because that is in the interest of time. So here we have actually tried to compare protein from alfalfa that has been acid precipitated, and where we have used a filtration strategy. And then we have quantified the saponins in the material. And the saponins in alfalfa, there are actually quite some. We have identified 16 saponins, and they all have this aglycone, and there are 3 different aglycones, and then they can be glycosylated to a different degree. So it's quite difficult actually to analyze for them, but we have the instrumentation for that purpose. If we look into how the saponin is actually going with the protein or not, then we see that in acid precipitation, we actually concentrate the saponins together with the proteins. And that is not something we like, because the saponins, some of them, they are actually toxic, but also they have a very bitter taste. So there are things to look into here. But then if we look into ultrafiltration, then you can see that here we don't see any concentrating of the saponins. So that is really, really nice. And that is also what we have seen in, for example, peas and other protein concentration and isolate. and today I can't show you more than this. I just want to make a conclusion that the food grade plant protein have all flavors that are really complicating our perception as consumer, and that these all flavor, they have many diverse origins, and the all flavor in plant, it needs to be solved, and we can actually solve it by choosing the right processing strategy. Also, that there was a co-concentration of saponins together with the protein when we did the acid precipitation, but we saw no concentrating in the ultrafiltration strategy. I just have to highlight that there are really a lot for us to understand, and also we need to do more research actually to get these protein right. So last but not least, I just want to thank the people who helped doing this study here, and then thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Trine, for your presentation. It's really impressive. And yeah, we will touch base these saponins later on. Now I would like to get Alexandra as our second speaker. Alexandra, maybe you can turn your camera on. I will just give a brief introduction. Alexandra Augustiniak is a postdoctoral researcher, and also she is my colleague in the Circular Bioeconomy Research Group at Shannon Applied Biotechnology Center at Munster Technological University. She is involved in the Horizon 2020 Bio for Africa project, aiming to transfer simple, small-scale and robust bio-based technology to rural Africa, empowering farmers to produce a wider range of high-value products using local biomasses. Alexandra completed her PhD in biological science from Laboratory of Cytogenetics at the University of Łódź in Poland. Since joining Shannon ABC in 2015, she has worked on various projects with industrial clients in sectors including nutraceuticals, medical devices, and cosmetics. Her main research interests focus on cell culture technology, specializing in mammalian cell culture and in vitro screening for novel compound bioactivity using various cellular models. Dear Alexandra, now it's your turn. I look forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much, Davi, for this introduction. So I will share my screen now.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. Thank you. It looks
Can you
great.
see my screen?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm going to, today I'm going to talk about marine natural beauty products supporting a sustainable future. And I will start with the basis, what sustainability is, and what sustainability means for the cosmetic industry. So sustainability in general means considering three like the main pillars: the society, economy, and environment, throughout a product entire production chain to ensure a positive impact. And the production of any cosmetic product impacts the sustainability at all these three levels. It starts with the development and design phase, where the product is designed, and continues throughout the selection of ingredients and supply of raw materials, the production phase, packaging, transport and distribution, retail, used by the consumers, and also post-use phase, including, for example, waste management. And the cosmetic industry sector has become one of the fastest growing sector over past 10 years. So in 2025, the revenue in cosmetic market in Europe only accounts for 21.5 billion euro, and it's projected to grow by 2.7% annually. So what is especially apparent is the rise of demand for natural-based cosmetics. So customers nowadays are looking for product not only effective, but also with the low environmental impact. And there is ongoing interest in discovering novel compounds or novel extracts with skin health related activities that can be used for developing the more effective cosmetics, treating skin disorders, or to promote overall healthier physical appearance. And the substances isolated from terrestrial plants are still widely used by the cosmetic industry, but they have some drawbacks, such as slow growth and need for additional investment due to the cultural and environmental concerns. They also demand the use of agricultural land, and we all know that this is not an unlimited resource. And because of this increasing demand from the consumers, from the sustainable and health-conscious cosmetic product, the cosmetic industry is turning to huge and largely untapped marine resources for innovation. And it's important to add that the marine resources don't compete with the land for the agri-food production, and so now I like to present ocean in numbers. So the ocean is the largest ecosystem on Earth. It covers 71% of our planet. The 80% of all living organisms are found under the water. The estimation shows that there is between 1 and 2 million species in the ocean, and to date we described only 240,000, so it might be even less than 10%. And every year 700 new molecules from the sea are identified. And marine origin bioactives that can potentially be used to improve human health or by cosmetic industry are produced by marine organisms as they respond to the environmental condition, and that's why majority of these compounds can be found in terrestrial plants. They don't have equivalents. And these molecules are utilized by marine organisms for reproduction, communication, protection, or defense from infection. So this is just an example of a few groups of marine organisms and the compounds that can be isolated from them. So like the marine bacteria have polyphenols, carotenoids, polysaccharides, or mycosporin like amino acid. There's protista with DHA, for example, and squalane. Fungi with mycosporin like amino acid, polysaccharides. The sponges, polysaccharides, alkaloids, collagen, and mycosporin like amino acid. And then probably to the most important group, the microalgae and macroalgae, so seaweeds. And we can use to extract polysaccharides, polyphenols, carotenoids, alkanoids, terpenoids, lipids, and probably many more different groups of chemicals. So now this slide presents the groups of this marine bioactive compounds and how they can be used for cosmetic industry. So what bioactivities are connected or with this specific group of compounds. So mycosporin-like amino acid are photoprotective, antioxidant, anti-aging. Probably the bigger group of marine bioactive compounds, polysaccharides, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, inhibits tyrosinase, inhibits degradation of skin extracellular matrix, boosts production of collagen, production of elastin. It promotes wound healing. It's also anti-wrinkle, anti-aging. Like all this group of marine bioactive compounds are antioxidants, somehow anti-aging or anti-inflammatory. So they have everything that we really are looking for when we buy a cosmetic product. So these are just the example of patented compounds isolated from different marine organisms. We have here seaweeds, corals, microalgae, and bacteria, and this is just the example of real products on the market. And so like to summarize everything I was talking about, it seems that the marine bioactives are ideal to be used by the cosmetic industry, but obviously there are some limitation of using marine bioactives, and this limitation, to be honest, concerns not only the marine bioactives but also any natural derived the material that is used as a raw material for cosmetics. And so we can say about six main group of this limitation. So the first, knowledge. The oceans are still unexplored and undervalorized resource. There is also conservation, so the harvesting marine resources might lead to overexploitation and to ecological imbalances. The regulatory framework, every cosmetic product needs to be safe. So that's the first thing, is need to be safe for human use. So there is there are different law related to the cosmetic product and the cosmetic ingredients, and also the harvesting resources from ocean is limited, and it's limited here by the national and international law. Technical limitations, so the large-scale production of marine bioactives might be expensive, and also it's time-consuming. The entire value chain development process for a new ingredient, it's really time-consuming, and also we need a strong collaboration between different partners, between science, markets, law, and industry to succeed in this field. But like what we can do and what we can explore further to really use this marine bioactives as sustainable ingredients. So we definitely need science and the further research, because as I mentioned, we currently describe maybe less than 10% of the marine organism. We should think about the different methods or of harvesting the resources for the extraction. So like, for example, aquaculture or biorefineries, when we can can use every step of extraction and gradually extract all the different compounds, and it also minimizes the waste. And also it's possible to cultivate the marine organism in waste substrate, and it was successful, for example, for microalgae. In terms of regulatory framework, obviously all the cosmetic ingredients and final product needs safety testing. We can overcome the technical limitation by using novel screening and extraction techniques. So obviously something that is explored nowadays is there are green extraction techniques based on water, but also with the ultrasound assisted extraction of the enzyme assisted extraction, and the research shows that even the yield from the green extraction is higher than from the conventional ones, and also there is huge positive aspects for the economy, because the green extraction are less expensive than the conventional ones. In terms of time limitations, so it's important to do the market analysis before trying to introduce new ingredients, because it definitely save some time. And in terms of collaboration, so it's necessary to establish partnerships that is beneficial for all the involved parties. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alexandra, for your presentation. Really interesting insights into the marine industry and into the beauty sector, and how actually it's growing so fast. So we will touch base your presentation later on. Thank you so much. Now I would like to invite our third speaker, dear Pauline. I will give you a short introduction. So Pauline Harmsen is a senior scientist at Wageningen University and Research in the Netherlands, specializing in sustainable textile and bio-based materials. With a background in chemical engineering from University of Twente, her work focuses on circular and fossil-free textiles, textile recycling, and bio-based fibers. Pauline leads the Sustainable Textile Program at Wageningen University Research, advancing innovation and research to reduce the environmental impact of the textile industry. She has contributed extensively to the projects and the publication in the bioeconomy and sustainable materials sector. Dear Pauline, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. So let's share.
Great, thank you.
Yes, you see it now, huh? Okay. So hi everybody. My name is Pauline Harmsen, and I work at Wageningen University and Research in the Netherlands. So I have a background in chemical engineering, and I have a real passion for natural polymers and materials. And with that, I make my own fossil-free wardrobe in my atelier to show you that bio-based textiles are, in my view, the only solution towards a responsible future for clothing. So, but what are bio-based textiles? And for that, we need to look at the current textile industry and how it's organized. So the textile industry is organized in 3 different value chains that produce 3 different types of fibers and have their own dynamics and challenges. So the first one is producing natural fibers. So they are bio-based fibers of biological origin from living things, such as plants and animals. The fibers are produced by farmers that produce fiber crops or breed animals. And well-known fiber examples are cotton, flax, hemp, and wool. And the second one is producing semi-synthetic fibers. These are man-made fibers of natural polymer cellulose and that these are produced by forest owners that produce the wood. And fiber examples are viscose, lyocell, and cupro. And the third one is producing synthetic fibers, and these are man-made fibers made by polymers built up from monomers. And resources are mainly fossil-based, but also bio-based options are possible. And fiber examples here include polyesters, polyamides, and elastane, for example. And this scheme illustrates the whole textile industry with these three different value chains. So from producing on the left to the end of life on the right. And you see the bio-based input from farmers and forest owners, but you also see the fossil input for the synthetic fibers at the moment. And at a certain point in the value chain of textiles, the three fiber types come together in the creation of textiles, so where the blends are created and fabrics are finished, and the clear distinction between the three different value chains is then gone. But the textile industry does not only rely on natural materials, but also on fossil-based alternatives heavily at the moment. So phasing out fossil feedstock is not only relevant for the energy sector, but is also very relevant for textiles. And this graph shows you why it is so important that we address the use of fossil feedstocks for textiles. So it presents the changes of global production volume of textile fibers over the years. And while bio-based fibers such as cotton and viscose types are quite stable, you see that the polyester, a fossil-based synthetic fiber, shows a staggering growth, so the blue line. And the most recent data are included here, and the polyester fiber production increased from 63 in 2022 to 71 million tons in 2023. So that's really big. And without the abundant availability of fossil feedstocks, this was never possible. And the fossil industry is largely responsible for the substantial growth of textile fiber production over the last 25 years. So resources for textile fibers include fossil feedstocks and bio-based feedstocks. And the trend nowadays is towards less bio-based and more fossil-based, unfortunately. And the bio-based part is decreasing. So today, 32% of all textile fibers originate from bio-based resources, and growth in fiber production is mainly from fossil-based synthetic fibers, so more specific polyester. So, but now let's take a more detailed look at the three different fiber types. So for natural fibers, some common characteristics. So the production starts with farmers, and it requires land, water, sometimes pesticides, and harvest of the fibers is often labor intensive. So the diversity of these natural fibers is quite high, as there are around 40 different natural fiber types, and they are mostly built up from cellulose from plants or keratin from animals. And consumers are really used to cotton, for example, but bast fibers such as linen and hemp may be less attractive. And also what you see, especially in Wageningen, is that wool and other animal hairs are less attractive for vegetarian or vegan people. When you look at the environment, so natural fibers are biodegradable by nature, and they do not accumulate in nature. But challenges for these fiber types is for cotton, the sustainable production. And for example, for Europe, we could use or we could upscale the bast fiber production, but we also can search for more promising alternatives that can be applied in textiles, so new crops. So for the semi-synthetic fibers, so the production starts with the forest owners or farmers, and it also requires land and water. Mainly cellulose from wood is used, but also other fast-growing crops like bamboo can be used. And extracting the cellulose and spinning to fibers are chemical processes, and the diversity of this type of fiber is lower, so around 10 different fibers are out there. And consumers are really accustomed to these fibers, and biodegradability is not a big issue, as also cellulose is biodegradable. So the challenges for these fibers include use of land and water to produce the resources. So growth is certainly possible, as cellulose is a very abundant polymer on Earth, but then also processing facilities must be expanded. And besides cellulose, there are also other polymers, such as proteins, that can be processed into semi-synthetic fibers, but is there a potential? And the last one, the synthetic fibers, so they make up 2/3 of the global fiber production. And production of these starts with the fossil industry and mostly outside Europe. And the monomers and polymers are produced by the chemical industry. So the diversity in fiber types is really high, and there are also bio-based options. Consumers find these fibers quite attractive due to price, availability, performance. But yeah, there are also a series of environmental issues, for example, that the fibers are not biodegradable often and accumulate in nature. But there are also bio-based alternatives. So fully bio-based and partly bio-based polyesters and polyamides are available or under development. And also their applicability in textiles is investigated. But still the volumes are quite low due to price, availability, and questions about sustainability. And for consumers, the drop-ins, so that the bio-based alternatives for the well-known fossil ones are no problem, as materials are the same. But for new, fully bio-based alternatives, this is much more challenging. And there are several environmental issues related to synthetic fibers, and amongst others is the degradability of the fibers. And drop-ins are mostly not biodegradables, whereas fully bio-based ones are being investigated. So to summarize, bio-based textiles can come from animals, plants, but also from microorganisms and fungi. And the biopolymers are the polymers that are created by these living organisms. And depending on the organisms, different polymers are produced. So animals produce proteins like keratin in wool, and plants produce polysaccharides like cellulose, but also proteins. And microorganisms can produce polyesters, for example, PHA, maybe you heard of that. And also fungi produce a combination of proteins and polysaccharides. And why I tell this is that the type of polymer determines the final textile properties. And so to help you decide what to do with a certain sort of biomass, we created this decision tree for plant-based resources. So from plants, you can create all three types of textile fibers. So you can create the natural, the semi-synthetic, and the synthetic fibers. And in this figure, the questions are presented that need to be answered when dealing with the various sources of biomass feedstocks and the residues for textile applications. So all bio-based textiles from plants, it can be done. So what are the overarching challenges for bio-based textiles? So first, there's the issue of competing uses. So biomass is now used for food, feed, energy, and materials. But what if fossil resources are phased out? Then these type of discussions will become much more intense. And for example, in the Netherlands, we have, besides food, also competition from the bio-based building industry. And consumer behavior is also a challenge, especially when there is no level playing field due to considerable imports of fossil-based textiles from outside Europe. And also circularity needs to be addressed. The textiles are more valued, longer used, and discarded in a proper way after a long lifetime. So main questions for bio-based are as follows. So which plant, animal, fungus, or living thing, other living thing is suitable for sustainable production of natural fibers? And how do we source more cellulose for regenerated fibers? And which synthetic fibers are future-proof? And I believe that growth of bio-based fibers for textiles is possible, but competing uses remain a big puzzle. And also gaps in processing infrastructure need to be solved, and consumer behavior and acceptance needs to be addressed. And all this is highly dependent on the availability of fossil resources in the future. So bio-based textiles are part of a responsible textile future, and that is also cherish, especially those beautiful natural fibers. Bio-based fibers, textiles are not limited to natural fibers or man-made cellulosic fibers, but also synthetic fibers are possible. but also all the requirements for sustainable textile are as follows. So overproduction needs to be tackled. We need more responsible use of textiles by consumers. Textile to textile recycling needs to be stimulated, and fossil-based textile needs to be discouraged. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Pauline, for your presentation. Really inspiring presentation. I'll have a question for you also in the interactive Q&A session. Okay, so I would like to now invite our fourth speaker today, Johan. Johan Buriesson is the Group Manager for Innovation System at Rice Processum AB, a subsidiary of Rice Research Institute of Sweden, with extensive international experience in bioraffinery and enzyme technology. He focused on circular bioeconomy and bioraffinery development. Since joining Rice Processum in 2020, Johan has played a key role in initiating and leading projects aimed at commercializing innovative concepts in the bioeconomy. In May 2021, he was appointed as a group manager, where he continues to drive innovation and foster new value chains in sustainable bioraffinery systems. So Johan, thank you. I can see you can share your screen. The floor is yours, only your mic is mute.
Thank you for reminding me of that. Thank you very much, Brigitta. So it's a pleasure to speak with you today. I'm going to talk a bit about bioeconomy innovation from and within the forest industry. And I was also asked to touch upon opportunities for women, and I'll have some examples on some work we've done on gender equality within this industry. But mostly I will talk about the innovations that comes from the industry, and I'll focus quite a lot on the regional context of the north of Sweden for this. But let's start with that. We are, let me see here, there. So we are the Swedish Research Institute, and our mission is to support the industry with innovation and competitiveness. All kinds of industry in Sweden. Of course, I work specifically with the bioeconomy sector. And as you mentioned in the introduction, I belong to Rice Processum, which is a subsidiary of Rice. Rice in total is about 3,300 employees, whereas we in Rice Processum is 41. And we've been around for the past 20 or so years. We have a high degree of PhD, almost 60%, about equal in men and women in our organization. What is very important is that we are partly owned by an industry interest association, where many of the large forest industry are represented and really drive the research agenda for us. Our vision is to be a creative hub in a world-leading cluster for development and commercialization of biorefinery processes, green products, chemicals, and materials. Here is where we are situated. This is the industrial cluster where we operate and where a lot of the innovation happens. We have named this place the High Coast Innovation Park here in Örnsköldsvik in the north of Sweden. We are situated about 600 kilometers north of Stockholm. This area, we have more than 30 organizations, more than 1,500 employees, and a turnover of more than 700 million euros a year. This really is a leading center for development and innovation within forest bioeconomy in the Nordics. With strong foundation in high-tech entrepreneurship within forestry, chemistry, and technology. One of the things is that we are hosting the Processum Biorefinery Cluster, where this interest association is the core part of that. But we support more than 100 SMEs a year. We have more than 500 international partners within our projects, and that are spread over 25 countries. Really the key offerings of this cluster is access to infrastructure, expertise, guidance and advice on financing, and you know, our network where we can ensure that we find the right collaborations for the industry. We work quite heavily with the municipality and the region in developing the ecosystem for bioeconomy development here. And it really is diversity and inclusivity and gender equality is very much a key aspect in our work to develop that innovation ecosystem. So I thought I'd mention a project that the county board of Västernorrland, who is the region here, started up 4 years ago. It is now ended, but it was a very successful project in engaging with a forest industry, even though Rice Processum don't deal with this kind of tradition of being very male-oriented. The forest industry does. And this project was focused on gender equality in the forest industry. So I thought I'd highlight that today. And the goal was really to catalyze gender equality in the forest industry, acknowledging the critical need for a sector that is not only competitive and sustainable, but also inherently equitable. And the initiative sought to dismantle the traditional gender norms that have long influenced the forest sector. And it got a very, very strong participation from the industry and all the actors around it. The project succeeded in elevating the discourse on gender equality within the national agenda of the forest sector. Overall, it had more than 1,000 participants, 620 unique participants, and 120 different organizations. So this was very strong initiative to raise awareness around the norms in the forest industry. And I would say that, you know, it's been a very systematic work within the industry to make it a kind of an equal opportunity and an industry that really embrace diversity and inclusivity. This project was also highlighted as a good practice among 12 other initiatives, and it was put into this collection of good practices on gender mainstreaming in the European Green Deal, and you can find the link here as well. Driving innovation within the forest industry is really about having access to sustainable and carbon-rich raw materials. And here we work with, you know, recycling. We work with the biomass side streams from the forest industry, and also in carbon dioxide utilization. I'm going to spend some time on this picture here that kind of shows the different side streams around the forest industry. So we have carbon dioxide, wastewater, ash, methanol, tall oil, fiber rejects, green liquor dregs, black liquor, turpentine, excess heat, sawdust, bark, biosludge, and forestry residues like roots and tips and branches. But we also work with agriculture residues. And what we have found is that, you know, all the different technologies that have developed from the forest industry and that has been working on these side streams, they are very much transferable to also agriculture residues. So within Rice Processum, we work with all kinds of biomass, and I would say maybe half of it is from the forest industry, and half of it is from all other kinds of biomass resources from the agricultural side or from the food side. Some of the examples that with companies or technologies that have developed from these side streams are, for example, you know, we can see in the top right corner here, Liquid Wind that has a technology to convert carbon dioxide into methanol through electrochemistry. We have Sinus Fertilizer, who I will talk a little bit more about, but they can produce a you know, sustainable mineral fertilizer from ash. We also have companies like Cast Materials that produce very functional, lightweight materials from fiber rejects. We have Renfuel, who is developing processes around bio oil from lignin, which when treated with hydrogen, really can replace crude oil in an oil refinery, although it's 100% bio-based. With companies like EcoHelix that extract hemicellulose structures from black liquor or spent sulfite liquor to produce very functional polymers, for example, for paint coatings and those kinds of applications. We have Sigrid, who has an innovative technology in converting kind of low temperature excess heat into electricity with a fairly high conversion effectiveness. And then we have a couple of companies that work solely on bark. Alder Olmai is one that can produce different colors for textiles that all come from bark, really beautiful colors. And then we have Riselo, who is producing a bio-based rubber that can go in a lot of different rubber applications. And then we have Seagreen, who has a technology to produce hydrothermal carbonization, so biocoal from different kinds of sludges, and so on. And these are only a few examples of technologies that we have been kind of engaging and working with Rice Processum in different aspects. But the two one of the most kind of prominent that has reached a larger scale is Seagreen, that established a kind of commercial scale plant with Stora Enso, with the capacity to work on 20,000 tons of sludge a year to produce a solid fuel that can be used in the pulp mill to generate energy. And another one here is Sines Fertilizer, as I mentioned, that take the electrostatic participate from the pulp mills and can turn them into the sulfate of potash and then into a mineral fertilizer that can be used on for example, vegetables and fruits and so on. And they both Seagreen and Sines Fertilizer really started from very small scale within the laboratories at Rice Processum and have now grown into kind of full scale offerings where Sines Fertilizer now have established a plan to produce 100,000 tons a year of sustainable fertilizer. They're just in the ramping up phase, but they've already shipped about 3,000 tons a month in the past few months. Another area where we have been very active with the industry is to use these forest-related industrial side streams and produce moving towards the food and feed sector through the production of single-cell protein. And here is one project called Sulfid, which was a BBI innovation action project where we participated. And since then we have successfully engaged in several other kind of single-cell protein projects. We also, within this region, we have a company called Circulose that can make a dissolved pulp where you can produce new textile fibers like viscose, lyocell, modal acetate, and they use and their resource is 100% recycled textiles. So this is cotton being turned into a new dissolved pulp for new textiles. So this is a very interesting establishment that we have here in the north of Sweden in Sundsvall. Another really important mechanisms or instrument for innovation that we have here is the Forest Business Accelerator, where we can coach and promote and help to develop the business models and organizations of forest-related SMEs. And here's a number of them that went into that program here last year. We also recently established this RISE Bioeconomy Arena. It was a grant given by the Swedish government to scale up the bioeconomy and create a natural center for this. And the majority of that investment went to Örnsköldsvik, where we are. And this is now becoming operational here in the first quarter of this year. And this will really improve our ability to innovate within the forest industry and within the bioeconomy as a whole. And I'll stop there. This is a picture where we are, the RISE Bioeconomy Arena. It's in a unique and open infrastructure to speed up biorefinery development. Thank you. I'm looking forward to the future discussion around this.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm sorry, something was with internet. Johan, thank you so much for your presentation as well. Now I would like to, we came actually to the panel discussion session, where I would like to ask you, Mette, if you can turn your camera on. I would like to also introduce you. Thank you so much. Also, you are muted, just so you know. Firstly, I would like to introduce you, and then we can go to discussion session. So Mette Lubeck is the Vice Department Head for Research in the Department of Chemistry and Bioscience at Aalborg University in Denmark, with expertise in the bioraffinery concepts, biomass protein extraction, fungal gene technology, and enzyme development. Her work focuses on advancing sustainable agriculture and biotechnology. As a co-founder of Biomass Protein, she has been instrumental in developing grass-derived protein for plant-based foods. In her role at Aalborg University, Mette leads cutting-edge research in the biotechnology and drives innovation in the bioeconomy sector. I hope I have introduced you nicely, Mette. Mette, I have a few questions to ask you.
Sure.
You're welcome. So one of the questions what I'm interested to hear from your point is that from your perspective, how do you see the women contributing to advancing the circular economy, and what are the unique perspectives or approaches do they bring to sustainable development?
Yeah, that's of course a difficult question, because I think that both men and women contribute very much, but I think many women has a tendency to think very much about the climate and have a high responsibility. They are feeling a high responsibility for the climate and also for delivering the nature and earth back to a better world, back to their children and grandchildren. So I think there's some kind of very natural sustainability mindset in many women. Of course, I'm making generalizations that also men and maybe not all women feel about, but I think that is in general something that women bring to this. And I also think that women likes very much to create these kind of win-win situations when they engage with taking different stakeholders seriously within collaborations, both when it's industrial research or academia, but also out to the consumer sides or ordinary people. So so these things are points that I think that women care about. And that is very important when you also want to get circular economy into real world, you can say, from research ideas and into the outside world, outside academia.
Tell me now, then, let's say about on the level of university, is there some examples that you at Aalborg University offer that can inspire and engage young, not only women, but also the men and the, kind of the students, at the end, in pursuing careers within the bioeconomy?
Yeah, I think actually we have brought a special program, or I have a special course that are called Bioresources and Biorefinery, and actually a lot of it's not a part of the general curriculum. They can choose to have this course instead of another course, and actually it attracts a lot of young people, and I find a very much a gender balance, but also many women or many young girls would like to take this course. And I think some of the topics within the field of circular bioeconomy that many, especially young women, tend to get inspired by is this circularity, but also especially within the food processing area and to create novel food. And also within the health, so they care very much about food and health, I think.
Okay.
And I guess also the topics that we heard today about the cosmetics is also mainly women, and they care about more and are aware about more natural products. And I think the same goes for textiles and for coloring of textiles. In that course, the students can choose different projects, and they can do that on own choices. And I have found that I have had some strong female grouping working on coloration of textiles or cosmetics, and about these kind of topics they have chosen to work with. And very much about microalgae and food, and actually also my own research field about this grass-based food inspires a lot, I think.
Do you see maybe that let's say that's going to be increasing trends in the next years? How do you see the future of, let's say, the bioeconomy interest from the younger generations?
I think at least in Denmark we have a lot of talks about this new that the farming area should be less, and we should have more nature, so we can have more biodiversity, and we can care about our water systems around in Denmark. And that is something that are in the debate, and that leads back to the students that really think we would like to play a role here, because we are teaching engineers, and engineers tend to not only observe what is going on, but also would like to play an active role in trying to work with these challenges. And I think some of what they want to work with is really making a difference. And here, less land leads to either change in consumption of food consumption towards more plant-based foods, for example. And that's something that I think often also on the elder population, women is the ones that more easily accept eating less meat, for example. And this can lead to, change in consumption patterns, because many women are also the ones that prepare foods in the daily life of many. So I think these changes can make, go together with all this green changes in the society, where agriculture has to be less land, less intensive, and you have to think about less animals and the future food systems. For example, I saw also what Trine was talking about, where you go from traditional foods to more plant-based, more precision fermentation-based, more cell-based, and also other kinds of plants that we traditionally have been eating, and ingredients from these plants.
Okay, interesting. Thank you so much for that. This is really kind of the last question. What I have for you is, can you maybe tell me from your perspective, how can researchers and industrial professionals collaborate more effectively to drive the innovations in the bioeconomy? Do you have kind of advice or, the strategy for that?
Yes, I think, researchers tend to dig down into very detailed oriented research and want to understand every bit and pieces. And when they collaborate with industry wants to have more quick solutions so they can commercialize and earn money. And this is like sometimes contradictory. So I think to understand what is on stake for the academia people and what is on stake on the industrial people, and trying to find a bridge between this could be very helpful to understand that something has to be maybe not so open at a certain time point until a patent or a process that can be commercialized is ready. But on the other hand, also to allow all this openness that academia wants, because we also needs to inspire the world for making solutions and collaborate. So this balance is of course something to tackle. But I think also this entrepreneurship that are becoming more often relevant. More and more young people are thinking about entrepreneurship, and actually from my own experience, because I have also been working along this, I have found a better understanding on what is on stake for the industry, and how actually can you work together with commercial players within a certain area. And I think that inspires back to the academia also to tackle these real problems that the industry stands with. But yeah, it's not easy, but I think we also deal with, as a researcher, that you have to have, other researchers think that if you are also working on a commercial side, that you have a double or conflict of interest. And I think it's very needed to be transparent about such issues in order to both be able to be in academia and also have a role in commercialization of research. But it's a balance, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if that, but I think that the collaboration is really, really needed, because if we don't get all the research out in the real world, we are not really solving problems.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree on that one as well. Perfect. Mette, thank you so much for joining today as well with us. And I'm actually very happy to have you in our panel discussion. So thank you so much for taking your time to be with us today. I would like to ask all of our speakers to turn their cameras on and that they unmute themselves. Now we are coming to this interactive Q&A session, where I would like to ask as well audience to feel free to ask the question by putting it into the chat question, and then I'm going to address your question to the relevant speaker. But then in the meantime, I would like to also ask a few questions to our speakers. So Trine, I would like to start with you, because you have been the first in our role. So one very, very heavy question for you. So how do different plant proteins differ in how easily they develop off flavors during the processing?
When you compare it to animal protein, then the plant protein, there are much more small compounds, and When it comes to flavor and off flavor, it is actually the small compounds that is responsible for the flavor off flavor that we as consumer think that is unpleasant or pleasant. If it is an off flavor, unpleasant, and pleasant if it is a flavor compound. And it is actually individual for you and I. We may think that something, I may think that something is good, and you may think that you dislike it. So it is individual how people they perceive different smaller compounds. But in relation to the difference, there are so many secondary plant metabolites that is giving flavor and off flavor. And when we process, therefore we also see that sometimes, as I showed today, we can concentrate those. But if you process in another way, then you don't see any problem with it. So it really depends. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just that we kind of touch base the actually thing what you mentioned is that, would you tell me how the consumer states influence the focus on reducing of flavors?
Yeah, if I, for example, have an example with potato protein. They have been working on that for many, many years, and we in Denmark have one of the largest factories in the world. The issue is that it is approved for human consumption, but it is very difficult actually to sell it for human consumption. So much of the potato protein, it is actually going for feed today. And it's not because that there are issues with the protein as such, but the off flavor is a problem. The potato protein is very good when it comes to nutritional value and when it comes to functional properties, so you can actually use it as an ingredient, similar to what you do with whey and caseinate. But when the problem, that they are facing, it is actually the off flavor. So therefore, it's more difficult for them to sell it at the right price compared to the dairy industry who has the whey.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Trine, for these answers. Yeah, I would agree with you on that, definitely. Okay, the next question, Alexandra, is for you. How do marine derivated ingredients compare to traditional ones in the term of both sustainability and performance? And also just one more to kind of put there in that question as well. Would you mind to tell me what are the key challenges in scaling up production of marine derivated?
Yes, of course. So as you could see from my presentation, the marine derived ingredients have all the valuable bioactivities that we really are looking for in cosmetics, or antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-aging, and anti-wrinkle. So this is all that really we need. And also, if you think that the majority of this marine derived ingredients can be found in the terrestrial plants, so this is a huge advantage. But also there are some challenges and limitation, as I also mentioned. So I would say that probably the huge limitation in the extraction, in the large scale production, it would be volume. Because this compound occurs in this marine organism, sometimes in really low amount. So it's challenging to extract, the enough amount of this compound. So this is where the science could find some answers. So, for example, the scientists are like with the chemical synthesis. So we can try the full synthesis, like de novo synthesis of compounds that obviously we know the characteristic, then the structure and the mode of action, but also we can try to isolate from nature the intermediate compound that naturally occur in higher volume, and then try in the laboratory to convert it to the compound of interest. And this is something that's that people are trying to do.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I'm actually also wondering. I know that you are really kind of deep in that one, and I'm wondering currently, do you know any, let's say, the novel one product, what is currently maybe just on the doors to be expanded to the market? You know, from the perspective, you know, that it's a novel one, they find that it works perfectly. Is there anything that you are aware? Maybe one, just which you would like to highlight.
I'm sure that there is, plenty.
Okay.
Plenty different gauges, but I'm not sure if just from top of my head, just one right now. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, and I am just asking, like also I'm getting this kind of ages, getting a little bit older. I won't get younger, that's for sure, right? I hear that they are finding solutions kind of to, stopping the getting older. But yeah, I don't think that we are still there. But, I was just thinking from, because you work with this really, the really, I would say, impressive marine ingredients. So I was just wondering, do you have currently something also for stopping this getting old?
So like I think that the trends right now are obviously in the cosmetics, like the anti-aging and anti-wrinkle, but there is also a trend to look at the aging, on the cellular level. And so I would say that there is plenty of the different ingredients, also with also marine derived ingredients that are testing how they can affect the senescence, the aging on the cellular level, because I think that this is the next step.
Okay, interesting. So we're looking forward to that one, isn't it then?
Definitely.
Thank you so much, Alexandra, and thank you for really inspiring presentation and very nice presentation as well. Okay, so now my another question is for you, Pauline. I hope your mic is on.
Yeah.
Super. Okay. So I would like to hear from your perspective as well. What are the most promising bio-based material currently being developed for use in sustainable fashion?
Yes, so to answer that question, I think we also just don't look at new materials, but also look really at the old ones we have forgotten. And that's what I find really interesting when you look at the history of textiles, and you see that in the past we used a lot of nice bio-based materials for textiles, and we more or less forgot them. And I think that it would be really valuable that we revive them more, so that we also have a more alternative for the fossil ones that are out there now, and also that we cherish, for example, also more really valuable stuff like wool. Wool is also in the Netherlands often being burned because they cannot earn money from it. Those kind of things, it's really a pity. So really revive those kind of fibers, but on the other hand, on a parallel part, I think that also development should be in this in the synthetic fibers, and especially the bio-based ones. So because there are a lot of possibilities, but they really need some development, so that we also come up with more bio-based sustainable polyesters or polyamides to make our textiles, so that we have a whole range of properties out there, which you also need for textiles, because you all kinds of applications, you need all kinds of different properties, and that's, I think, it's really really important.
Mm-hmm. Is there any, let's say you mentioned that, we should be maybe returning back to the past. Is there any other one which you think that Europe is really, have a potential to grow it? Just, I know for hemp, and we already kind of did touch base the hemp, but I'm just wondering, is there any other one crop which you might like to kind of, highlight?
Yeah, so for Europe, you have bast fibers, so flax, hemp, but also nettle, and I think also hop, where you make beer from, is also a bast fiber type. So those kind of fibers and plants are kind of interesting, and I also think that we should also look much more to all these kind of residues that are out there from food production. Also, especially the plants we produce and use, are very interesting sources of material.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like we had in our last webinar, we had women from, or the founder of Ananas Anam, which we already kind of touched base. She also said basically just because she used the ananas waste, that's how they produce the textiles. So that was actually very, very nice story about, reducing the waste and actually use it in the different sector, and they find the textile industry perfect line with that.
And then that's where you look also. So ananas is not growing in Europe, I think, yes.
No,
so that's out there,
exactly.
but so you also need to look for crops that are growing in Europe, and what can you do with that? So that's really really valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree on that with you. Perfect. Thank you so much for your presentation. Really valuable source of knowledge is in there. Thank you so much, Pauline, for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, and now question for you, Johan. I'll leave you for the end. You know how we would say, the sweetest part comes on the end, yeah? So what I want to say, I have a question for you. From your as well perspective, what are the most promising innovation in the forest industry which contributing to sustainable bioeconomy? And also, I would just a little bit get on the top of that, and if you can give us some examples of the new products or technology which came from forest resources.
That's a very hard question, I think.
Okay.
What is the most promising technology?
Or the product, one or the other, which came from forest industry.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of promise and in this kind of new sustainable materials. I think with there are some nice advancement in this, lightweight materials. You can make foams out of different kinds of bio-based fibers that has really interesting promises, and it has gained a lot of attention from these kind of large brands in kind of replacing, packaging, and these can be more sustainable. I also think that, and this is more of a, I think an important trend in that we are, and you can see this within the funding landscape as well, in that there is a stronger focus towards food products, and you touched on this in the different topics here today as well. I think the proteins from different kinds of biomass materials. I think that is a very, very important development, and I think it is. There are some really nice examples out there that I think will succeed and are close to commercializations. I mean, there is microbially produced the casein, for example, is one company that we are working with, and these kind of, you know, plant-based proteins, extractions of that. I think when we look at our strategy, I think we have a lot of hopes and focus on that area at the moment. And you had a second question. I'm not sure I answered it, but
yeah, and I will just maybe have the last question for you as well. I'm just wondering, like, if you know there, how can the forest-based industry create opportunities for women, but in the regions with a limited access to traditional employment? Would you be having any idea on that one? Oh, I have very hard questions for you today.
It's hard. I know. I think it's very much, you know, it's an. I think the opportunity lies around entrepreneurship and establishing new, you know, small and medium enterprises that is using the side streams of the forest industry. I think that's where we see the largest opportunities for anyone, and you know, and in an equal opportunity. But I see, you know, if looking at just the representation of women, it is substantially higher among these small SMEs that we see emerge and that do fantastic things with these side streams. So I think that's the biggest opportunity there. And it's going to be interesting also, I think, to see, but that's more of a future scope, I think, in how the pulp industry or forest industry can renew itself. They are still very much focused on their traditional products, and they're kind of looking towards you know, others to pick up their side streams. But it will be interesting to see if they also start to kind of move into being a processor or a producer of these new products that comes out of the biomass. Yep, I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you so much, Johan, for your answers. And my apologies for hard questions for you, but you managed to answer them all very well. So thank you so much for that. Also, I would like to use this opportunity to each of you thanks separately for joining with us today, for really sharing this valuable information, what you are doing. I'm very happy that you managed to join us today. I'm sure that you inspired, you didn't actually just inspire me, I'm sure there is other ones who you inspired. And yeah, I look forward to the future and the future projects and the work which you are going to do. So yeah, maybe we are going to meet on some other webinar at some other time. Also, I would like to say thank you to our audience for joining us today. As I mentioned, next week, next Wednesday, at the same time like today, we will have our third webinar. So please feel free to register yourself today. And yeah, see you then next Wednesday. Thank you, everybody, once again for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.